Hello, this is the first episode, or prelude to an episode of being. Did you ever realize? And we're going to use did you ever realize to discern where correlation / discorrelation are simultaneously more valuable than that, while being the value of that, and while being more finite than that. Because this is why we have correlation / discorrelation. Everything is in demonstration of one identity of volumes, identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that. Those three parts of it, and as the extent of it discernible to us. And as one identity of volume that has all others at the same time, making more of its identity of forever nature by making more and more temporary / lasting forever nature as a perfect value / value progression tied to our syntax nature. For example, why I'm using the word value / value progression, because it is a simultaneous. See, the words, it's required to be its identity of volume as volume science, its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that. So the ancient gaming system I'm forced to speak about its programming before, and which is towards an interface. See, but this came before. The computers are mimicking not just what's simultaneous, but this, which is the value of sequence truth. See, the people of the knowledge of each of the sciences and of the religious differences. Knowledge is used to get over on correlation nature simultaneously inherent, active, and progressive means, when by and as this system native pure, no matter who you are. So to our syntax nature, the value of Native Americans is only increasing. But it is increasingly positive or negative because it's a demonstration of how it's only increasing, because the native system actually, see, everyone's forced to entertain treatments of positive and negative that were our victims and reacted to being victims, and then defenses of reactions, where those defenses are breaching method employed, predator premises treatments, sequence treatments, simultaneously pretending others, simultaneously no. See, this is about what is simultaneous, the science, the value of sequence true, which is only increasing, that which came before the finite here, tied to our syntax nature. What is really the problem with the environment? This is a subject / s inseparable from nature, from nature's identity of value progression, and from the value of that, which is forever nature's course. Boxings of source alone, it is surging through all things alone, and even force. Prepare your course, return, religion, train. We play no game. We have passions and emotions with the people of the sciences, but they don't follow mandated law. I've been asking you since before the World Trade Center attack. It's only 3 branches of government. They're victims, but they are only capable of being live progressions. The worth of such that can't afford what is actually recorded to be voiced. They want to debate things because they're all exceptions. This is what they do since founding with slavery, by a breaching method employed. That's why increasingly we'll examine why increasingly they value that breaching method, even though it's to get hurt everyone. They blame it. They rather have it blamed on other things other than themselves for their immediate needs. And they want that blame too, because what really keeps that outcome is their roles with a method / S on and off campuses already through time. They already used all identities of sophistication, fake sophistication. Theater, that's what the theater, blaming other things other than themselves. Why there are shootings in cities and things like that. Isn't it normal for people to want and need to kill? Before that happens, and while it was happening, is happening. I forgot what I was going to start, but I remember now. Did you ever notice in the urban areas they overtly confess, demonstrate, and record associations and relationships to overt criminal enterprises? Not just because they value using statutes where the penalties are 3 times worse. And this is also mixed with worse than war crimes. It's originally still insidiously, but simultaneously overtly, / overtly, criminally foreign influenced. That's that being and having been self-valued. That simultaneously in defense of itself, not by accident, is self-valuing all natures of campuses, no matter where they are. All database relationships simultaneously further in the campuses and private simultaneously. They are used the same way computers have to function. See, all people need theater treatments of positive. How to react to teach people about all things like words like truths and facts. Research. See, research is this is where they measure the pseudo-sophistication that is recorded. Worse than criminal incompetence. Intercampuses of each age and nature, including fire campuses, including medical campuses, including the locations next to them, including the locations next to campuses. They're setting up and having set up, see, because they were already used remotely, every modern nation. So they had to pretend other towards every age of sophistication nature's means to perceive this. This is shown to them. This is more and more self-valued having been associated with all outcomes, all treatments of identities. Not one person allows the short words to protract, where and how there is correlation / discorrelation prevented its revelations regarding what caused slavery. Distinctly and non-distinctly. If you're going by what is invisible but still discernible, why we are different, actually, which is native pure, but no one's going by this. No one will allow it gone by. Every case they've been fabricating audio and video in cases to hide their life progressions, to hide their needs, to hide from what is actually discernible to each age of fact-keeping nature. So that this was set up for them, and everyone to self-value uses of names for sciences, uses like metaphysics. Metaphysics is a science where and how alpha and omega are science, inside and outside. The Trinity / 26 letters that are being generated as is simultaneously increasing identities of volume by the same identity of volume. The same identity of volume discernible for how it is sequence / simultaneous nature, as what is distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. The identity of value / value progression, that inventions work or not in relationship to it. They are further positive or not in relationship to it. And so we have the top of the Z and the bottom of the Z. We're automatically temporary positive. That is only and will only stay positive unto itself. But that means also in relationship to where and how we are where it has a temporary concentrated value, Earth, in relationship to other planets where we have a distinct non-distinct and simultaneous relationship to itself. As forever nature, where it can make more of itself. Where 3 years know 1,095 days. So, added with these 5 identities of sequence / simultaneous nature, we've been examining. Per science. See, what is the value of self-valued since before our founding parents were born? The identity of the ground locations, the houses in the suburbs, and the suburban / urban, that left only capable of being fitting in with that, the overtly urban, people stacking, people mass now dependent, we can't fathom. How to counter things properly, because we've been on this value nature system tactile ulterior from the one tied to our syntax nature. Therefore, our functioning more finite than while being the value of the functioning of computers, how they have to work like this. So they need us to debate with experts of every science, of every religion, because then they keep the same thing going where they have all their identity of the grounds, locations. They have readings of statutes. They have statutes yet writ. Where what is actually recorded, they exploit that. For example, there are exceptions to when they say, where and how they say that we can't sue the online community. They are involved with this database method that is fluent through our nations. This is worse than war crimes. The database illusion stacking. That ties to lie progressions, per what knew that would. They already had that associated with where, when, how each age of fact should be nature's correlation in relationship to questions that are more than just inherent, active and progressive, and increasingly value as two identities of sequence / simultaneous nature further. Each of them a sequence / simultaneous nature. Each of them a trinity. Trinity is about science. It's about the inherent, the active, and the progressive, how they are bound. What is the progressive value of people stacking on a mass scale? And then simultaneously pretending, a politician should be like, oh, it should never be like this. A theater, because that in the background, where it comes to James Madison, real justice must satisfy all appearances of real justice. See, but we never had real justice originally. Everyone pretended other, while defending roles with their logic with that, blaming other things, others themselves. Increasingly self-valued psychology, delusions wrought, criminally foreign influenced. Also hyper-private, associated with the branches of government, locations, areas, states, criminally foreign influence, delusions wrought, that being used remotely. That only capable of sensing, being shown to sense. Their identities, impositions upon the actually capable. Physical, metaphysical, and identity logistics simultaneously know of each age of fact nature, of each location. Each location as a science, supposed to be about the science, the identity the scientists share, that identity, that inventions work or not in relationship to it, further positive or not in relationship to it. This scientific value won't have to agree on the name of the value. But we can't call it God. We can't call God, we can call an algebraic variable. We have to allow this because of the physical delusions. of the experts private in association with the interbranch corruption, because they've been hiding lie progressions and using methods, and where acts become subjects, but they're keeping the subjects out of sequence. So they're needing and valuing and furthering and needing to keep it blamed on other things other than themselves. The overt criminal enterprise is recorded how kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts, finite active progressive lies with them, including the people that run the prisons with them, on off the state judicial branch offices, on off the prison offices, including former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, including James Comey, saying originally and still that all identities of law recorded, confessed, demonstrated they are self-valued roles with criminally foreign influence premises treatments, exploitations of exceptions to the law where the police use, quote, the right to lie, unquote, where they don't have the right to lie. That's the executive branch, the police forms, and the private associated with them, private police forms, even down to the securities, the companies. Then they want to pretend their integrity. So they want and need those debates because of the readings of James Madison wrong in the background. Real justice must satisfy all appearances of real justice. We don't have with the wire crimes and mail crimes, falsified police reports, police forms, police switching names and forging names. To use and having used courts as sick weapons. You know how sick that is to use a court as a sick weapon? Originally and still in collusion with that breaching method. See now, even the people who debate that today about Jim Crow laws, all white power, those are police forms and stuff. They don't agree. They're undercover and stuff like that. They have hundreds of nations here with our colleges. Oh, that's why we don't talk about that. We're undercover. We're supposed to be real, pretending to be real. Yeah, these kids, since they were kids, wasn't just on the campus. They're pretending we need to prove things when they're recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. See, they have the interbranch before they are interbranch. They're already involved. Every age of fact-cheating nature. With self-valued roles, with what no one was wanted, but it facilitates time. Instances where they're stacking, where they're predicate acts roles, where it's tied to the databases, where they're stacking sequence shifts, wrongdoing, criminal and insidiousness natures, because of how they exploit that. Because of how they exploit the value/value progression that each age is in relationship to it. With what only the breaching method understands discernibly. When they tell you that that George Washington had slaves, they leave out how James Madison and the Native American needed unity, where colonists A through Z, Native Americans A through Z, this had already been sustained against them. Everyone was forced to value nature systems, tactical ulterior, from the one that causes positive value nature progressions, action natures, working with the ground too. That's how it works. We didn't invent humanity. We didn't invent how humanity works. And it's already invented how to put the materials into the soils. But we have to bring the materials from the suburbs throughout the country, while simultaneously we need to give temporary space to people that have been in, and we have to understand the logistics that have been in upon, not just upon them, but then in the reactions to it too. They're the people that need to help them. All those locations were already in collusion with that which is really most furthering and having furthered the overt criminal enterprises. You think that's separate from what keeps leaders, no matter how powerful they get? They can't do anything but ally with recorded clear as day, slash insidious simultaneously. Treatments of positive as criminal and serious nature and negative simultaneously. Self-value. Now, see, but this is only because of the extent of all that tied to what exploits off campuses, what it knew it already had, the fake difference of each campus, all a breaching method employed, tactically all ulterior, from correlation / discorrelations sciences, its identity, the one the sciences share, correlation / discorrelation. Each of the sciences, to have words that we would all know, because we would have them access to them readily. They have words that we do know that they're using wrongly, because they're fabricating audio. They already fabricated audio and video transcripts leading up to the World Trade Center attack and since. Our Justice Department has been with psychology, hundreds of nations, police here and there, nursing families, roles with programs, with schools where they don't tell the kids the extent of what is associated with the programs, where they have foreign and domestic. They're not allowed to tell that. But they are in certain contexts. So is told. They're not supposed to deny it. But they lie about that because where we have our leaders of the agencies recorded corrupt. They also use crime methods of pretending people have conspiracy theories, when their corruption is increasingly valuable in relationship to why the answers /S have not been afforded everyone regarding what caused slavery. A breaching method caused it, let alone for the people hurt most by it. They say trauma. Okay, now someone's caring about me. They're keeping medical. They're using readings of statutes and crime methods where those people need to pretend they have integrity over others, so they fabricate audio and video. They put fake physical behavior. You sustain that, then they get instances where people are going to raise their voice or do something like that because they know people are using acting, fake treatments of positive and negative that are in collusion. But it's because everyone's victims, everyone's speaking through others. They're forced to roles. Most people aren't going to be able to discern that. So where we have to speak about the wrongdoing and predicate acts also that some people have against us, we're needing to address how also other countries are involved with our interbranch and their roles with these people with the locations that they already used and the people's names they already used sickly. That's why we have negative value nature progression. That's why it comes down to it. They can't stop attaching lies to truths, making up fake truths. Increasingly, all fact treatments and fact-finding agenda are used to cover up lie progressions, used to cover up remote uses of the identities of law. Therefore, those identity of the ground locations, they need to pretend they love those identity of the ground locations. We don't need to debate their treatments of positive or negative. They're dishonest. They want to make it about one thing and leave out these 5 identities of sequence nature. Beyond progressive is the value of our complete nature will only stay complete, therefore semi-nature, in relationship to its identity in relation to itself and the value of that, where it is conjunction to and as evolution's fruits and gifts here, as its own identity system positive also onto itself, or that it's forced from here, lethal Hades, Earth's difference in relationship to the rest of space nature, in relationship to where, and how one planet's timing coupled the value of 5 in diffusion. If it's positive here, that makes it the value of 1,100. This is theory. But when it comes to theory, we make a theory more practical, because volume science is about those 5 identities of God variable. If it's really what God intends, it's really positive as what really came true before and really was value before the order of the finite now, the smallest detail now, physics, metaphysics, and identity, where it is a semi-nature, relationship to the complete nature. See, English was revealed to teach this. Clear as day is night, and night are about to clear. The invisible, making more and more of itself, forever nature, making more and more of its wanted, needed, or forced. Our difference in relation to the rest of space nature is forced from here, lethaled by hundreds of nations at once, as self-valuing it too. All tactical ulterior from this native system. So we could, we have to admit this. To have the syntax nature to claim reliefs, we have to write it first. We have to walk through what has been written. So we have victim predators. So thank God religions are about countering what is. And what is having already had complete possession over all locations, areas, and states. They criminally re-engineered before them the ancient sciences the way that humanity revealed them actually, before internation sciences became criminally foreign influenced the way they did, per method, also theory that no one realized it. That's how they're backed into the walls now. Success only in relationship to contrast, not in relationship to correlation nature, not in relationship to what is actually are already known, capable means, onto all those identity ground locations. We are supposed to take per the system. So we have to understand how our founding parents didn't have free speech, and then right through their lifetime, because the breaching method was never relented, because it already had complete possession of every country individually grouped in together, because it had all locations, areas, and states as standing fact sheet in nature, where and how the electrical engineering of our fact sheet in nature works. Where and how, again, it is in relationship to the identity that is native pure, that inventions work or not in relationship to it, and they are further positive or not in relationship to it. Because that's in relationship to the value of its identity of volume. Its identity of volume's identity of relationship to itself and the value of that. So this operates the ancient gaming system, which is greater than and more finite than, while being the value of physical electrical engineering and physical gaming systems. See, but we're going to come to the, online. I don't know if there's a gaming company who will get a programmer who wants to join with the ancient gaming system. But it is also pantheism. Not better than charity. This is to set up a religion just to be owned by what is going to be claimed, needing reliefs. We don't have to say that we're not going to blame it on anyone but the method, but the discorrelation. See, now this simultaneously brings up all victims, also to identities of jobs, industries reliant upon needs for help, syntax nature responses, fact sheet nature responses, times, sequence shifts. People don't realize, because people have to keep going forward. People don't realize all that is two of the revelations capable. So the new series I was thinking of doing is about how come no one ever realized. Distinctly in the same overt criminal enterprises, per what they say on in the media, and on Facebook. The same ones, those are recorded, kept needing to hide overt the same sequence shifts, finite active progressive lies. Well, as roles with other locations, including campuses, where they have all victim predators. They have all victims needing to respond to instances while simultaneously needing to respond to where and how they have an intelligence community where, remember, countless ways. Intelligence, that word, has not spoken for any location, let alone those most forsaken. That's not by accident. This is the complete possession of every position of sophistication of every modern nation. Now that maintains self-valued simultaneously. Criminal insidious natures are positive. That are not really positive, but then valued by more and more people. And in other words, where they are positive, those positive treatments and the timing of them are employed and uses always. They're the uses of it to keep discorrelation and correlation nature. To keep everyone's names. Everyone has an identity theft fraud method against us as the breaching method that American history is about, that the countries' histories are about. It's a method that prevented them free speech while simultaneously forcing them to pretend other, the same way they do it with people with identity ground locations. So we have to address the physical delusions of the people who speak for the law and our experts. Where we have no experts, it is recorded how that is exploited. And that's per how all identity ground locations are used. That's per how they have the exits in their highways, where they involve those people with timed identity thefts and frauds. Uses of all kind of exceptions where they don't have the right to allow Facebook and policing of Facebook. They're not even Facebook. The FBI was and is using them with courts. Connecticut Interbranch is using and has used Facebook, also interstates, with for a whole bunch of foreign families and bad people, including people on the child offender registry, and also recorded involved with other natures of organized crime. They're ducking behind how they have other countries here and there, like associated with locations near where the Wethersfield police station is now and where the Wethersfield library is. They are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved also with the schools next to it and the businesses there further involved, foreign and domestic families, and of psychology. They're fabricating audio and video, fake conversations with people that never were. Then they have that in relationship to the other people who just make statements in front of you And after they already had, like, they messed up. 3 times they have people from Hartford Hospital involved with further. But since before that, with people involved with the Child Offender Registry as leaders of the kids. And or associated, the ones that aren't associated with the leaders of kids. And further with the courts and the doctors that put them away and have them in prison. And further with the people that run the prisons and the schools that train them. That's how I know all this. And also them pretending other and sequence shifts is hiding methods that are actually recorded. WFSB attached me and others to fake locations. See, they have, this is a method that has complete possession of all the network locations. So they employ them needing to defend identities, need to hide from while simultaneously told to pretend emotions. And because if you look into a camera and you're thinking about things honestly, like, in other words, like, because there's no person there. But people jump up with passions and emotions dishonestly to prevent perpetually the protraction of the short words of logic that is true and pure. So we have people with that method originally instilled that would pretend they're representing courts that allow people to go back and forth with issues. But they've been roles with the locations problems and those same issues before they ever went down because of their roles with the method that everyone missed. But to discern it, we have to discern it through what is actually recorded. So this is methods that has the kids of the interbranch family members then exploit insights, then exploit other people, even little subtle things. Like one woman has 2 kids in my grade, I don't know them. I remember I was there for a couple times. We were babysitted by a woman. And I'm not saying the guy's a killer, the one associated with them. But because they made up a whole bunch of fake news. But there are people associated with body dumping spots. And there's a picture of one of the killers of one of those mass shootings. That is, anyway, per the people involved with the Wethersfield police with the wire crimes over the past month and a half, and since before that, these are ones into Wethersfield at the branch. Former Director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, has defended capacities in a 2006 district court case with Robert Luskin, for example, and in other cases and with depositions and uses of those depositions, locations that were involved with other natures of organized crime, other natures of war crime, methods. Now, these are methods that get over because they've been sharing policing of strip malls and regular malls and the military and locations next to schools and next to parks where they make people self-value sequence shifts, self-value identity thefts and frauds where that was exploited. Anyway, so some lady asked me to say sorry one time. And I was like a really young kid. So I said, sorry. Because I didn't understand why she did passions and emotions. And there was that one instance real quick, fast. Now that's one of the people involved. Also as the ones over that bridge, intercities, the body dumping spots. And as the people also tied to the various natures of courts and extended family members involved with identity thefts and frauds. And with the people on the Child Offender Registry on and off the campuses, people that aren't even in classes with each other. And constantly they're trying to push people that are in classes, need to hide the live progressions of the people involved with the kids' programs, The people involved with the locations, part of the predicate acts that are on and off the campuses, and the remote uses of Facebook for medical racketeering, and for judicial racketeering, and for executive racketeering, and for the military involved with identity theft frauds. There's a Justice Kovinskis also involved with the courts criminally, trying to set up truths with locations and online, so they can pretend they're having legitimate evidence treatments in courts. If they had legitimate evidences treatments in courts, that discorrelation, that is, pretending to be integrity, while it knows that's in the background. New York City, hundreds of nations tortured at once, hundreds of people pretending they could speak for identity of humanity, for volume science. So what can't bring quality and integrity to Marbury versus Madison? I was taught by my father it means real justice must satisfy all appearances of real justice. See, they make that appearance, so they have to, if you're fake, you have to pretend it means other. You have to pretend offensively. You have to value that being and having been pretended. This is a method of the exploitation of each age of fact-keeping nature simultaneously, too. Sickly distinctly, effectively keeping and having kept how sickly non-distinctly from being discerned. No one ever realized there's a method that made columns A through Z sickly distinctly have pseudo-education, and the counters of it were sickly contained. Not one has trained. Which native pure must guide. So, when anyone says God, who agrees or not agree, we're going to vote on that too. And so we're going to take, but it's not just voting, because this system, I'm giving away what it's going to look like, what the interaction is going to be like, because the people are going to. There's pantheism too. So you can do what which is part of the entry game system. We're revealing evolution's fruits and gifts. Now, what is pantheism? Not what they tell you. Pantheism, that's science by that identity of volume, by that identity of integrity, with sequence nature, with and as the value of treatments proper of the order and the finite. That means the smallest thing, detail. What is active, progressive, and identity simultaneously, but simultaneously distinctly, and simultaneously non-distinctly. So what is discernible? For example, so the top of the capital letters, ancients were led by this identity that the sciences can't help but share. You can't help but share everybody. Where we are value as nature / nature as value, we are its identity of volume. Its identity of volume is identity of relationship to itself, which can only be and stay so great and more finite while it has our value that it's the value of what is simultaneous. Not for our systems, though. But, once it was other. Once the ancients understood how to cause evolution's fruits and gifts. And they couldn't fathom that we would forget. Or we wouldn't be able to realize that again. But that was set up. A method that knew ever they could get all locations, areas, and states of the phenomena of what is now modern nations, valuing more and more those revelations that work with the ground science. That is distinctly, but also non-distinctly human science. See, we have that tool tactically denatured, and we have humanity science tactically denatured. So they make it humanities, plural. They have identity of the ground locations, treatments of people, they want to feel good about themselves. They can't even do that without hiding, forging, switching names. So all these methods are manifest because they are the complete possession of that identity of sophistication. That was the breaching method that was entrenched here before the founding parents of America were even born. Entrenched in other nations, modern nations, before their founding parents were even born. This method, an archetypal criminal enterprise method, even if it's wrong, it is more plausible. And it has proper solutions. Because it's not blaming anyone individual who can't take it. So we could also, for example, this identity leads not just to ancient gaming system. We know what to do. What's causing negative value nature progressions. Like, for example, there are proofs, I could be wrong about this, is another theory, but there are proofs that they took down a mountain that was in northern Africa, that was in where's Egypt, all northern Africa, where the Sahara Desert is. And a mountain, you ever see the top of a mountain is snow. There's constantly condensation, water is dripping down. And that accumulates. So fresh water, rivers come from mountains. That's also why it looks like, maybe why there's also a theory, why the top of the mountains look like they took the tops of the mountains off. Because they limited and control people, forced to value nature systems tactically over. Because nature, this method knew that nature is going to demonstrate a loss of the campus function, the republic's function, where that was revealed by our nature, going by the nature system. That was revealed. The ancient republic. That was criminally re-engineered. It was tricked, hurt, and forced. Defended tactical ulterior from its proper defenses, per what no one realized. So the devil will be the person who teaches about this with Little Rap Guy and friends. But we have to get to this fast. So if anyone would agree or disagree, or anyone would agree, but we have people that no one's ever experienced. No one has ever experienced proper treatments, proper usage of truth and of facts. Wherein how the protraction of the short words. Wherein how what seems to be so negative, it's increasingly positive. That we could all, anyone who's honest, could know that only a breaching method could be involved with the logic of someone and or physical delusions. With the logic of someone who would simultaneously pretend an identity of a country is free, and or is integrity, and or has and one person honest about any science, when they have on a mass scale. This is every identity of the location, let alone those most forsaken. Separated from what that method that causes instantly positive to everyone everywhere it is. Because it's the volume that's already there. It's the volume that's making more of it or forcing it from here. So Earth's distinct, non-distinct, and simultaneous relationship to the rest of space nature while being that more finite than that and greater than that. It is its identity of its identity of volume, its identity of volume's identity of relationship to itself, and it is the value of that. So, all are caught, recorded, pretending passions and emotions because of their roles with sequence shifts. They go back to the earliest schools. They have each age a fact-treatment nature. Each identity of sophistication, which is an identity of potentiality to discern what is actually recorded. Per correlation, nature simultaneously inherent, active, and progressive means. Where and how it is, what is more finite than, while greater than, while as the value of that slash. Where it is correlation slash discorrelation. That slash is where and how we are an increasing identity of value as a quality of diffusion. That is one quality of diffusion. That is in relationship to a science. That is one identity of value progression that has 5 identities of sequence / simultaneous nature that will only stay positive unto themselves. All exceptions in exception nature are as ourselves is in demonstration of it. But see, we have those demonstrations. We have exceptions in exception nature being and having been engineered. And then programmed to collusion with it. That which is all identity, the ground locations, positions of integrity, needed to hide how that's non-integrity. Needed to hide how they were, need to self-value, how they were lied to, shown little tricks, illusions like by magic people. Every single person, how could they keep that, someone order to all that? How could they control people they're not even here? That's what they did with all those sick laws. That was against every single person, an identity theft fraud method that made standing overtly / and simultaneously insidious logic treatment self-valued. That's used remotely. They made people take subject treatments, topic treatments, that simultaneously vetting sense and sensibilities that aren't having been employed, breaching screen, tool, weapon, worse, originally instilled. So we have to have mandated law followed outside of there's only 3 branches of government. They have no integrity. Where they have integrity, they're missing. Follow mandated law for Wethersfield, Connecticut, interbranch to intercities with them. They're involved with West Hartford and with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, since before James Comey, since before the Obama administration. This is per a method that was here since before our founding parents were formed, before their founding parents were born. Everyone was just trying to adapt and make success as contrast, simultaneously incapable of affording the syntax counters to that which is actually causing negative value nature progressions, acts and natures, like predicate acts. See, we're going to treat slavery as a predicate act. We're going to treat the breaching method as a predicate act delivery system method. And it needed to engineer, and did engineer, ahead of time, a whole bunch of ways that it could increasingly make self-valued roles blaming other things, others, and selves for the negative valuing nature, progression, acts, and natures it caused. Because then it had nature demonstrating it. It knew nature would demonstrate that. And it knew they would have to rack this syntax nature. Not fathoming the whole thing, the people that heard all the ancients knew that they would have to defend sciences and syntax reactions to predicate acts. And people that started trouble and did a lot of hurt. So they took humanity away from the way we were bound, individually grouped and together, per the revelation system by that. Where physical differences have an invisible value. And for example, this is how it keeps us demonstrated about the distinct identities of invisible but still discernible. For example, is 1/3/5 identities of sequence / simultaneous nature. For example, the invisible but still discernible, the distinct, non-distinct, the simultaneous of volume that the subjects and the verb are, or the subject and the predicate. Note how the predicate act is an act associated with a criminal enterprise, not how they've been treating criminal enterprises. There are proofs that it is more practical and is more probable to convict that, or to opine that, or to theorize that the witch trials were about where and how the judicial branch needed to counter where and how locations, areas, and states were criminally foreign influenced by what was not their fault, but they were already being and having been employed to roles within us. They were already the complete possession of a breaching method. They were employed as victim reactions, victim predators. But what's a witch trial about? It's about that question uses the resource of what slavery was about simultaneously. And simultaneously, when we bring what are the things it was about, it shows simultaneously a breaching method, invisible but still discernible. Also shows a breaching method specifically set up to keep worse than obfuscated all that is actually discernible through. All that is actually discernible. That is invisible, but people are pretending passions mostly they can't discern it. You know, what do they think? So they have names dropping and names calling at the same time, simultaneously, multi-front. We have arrays of fake difference. Before, while being, and even from beyond further, a difference to the rest of space nature. Earth is difference to identity of value progression, to its identity of relationship to itself, and to the value of that, which will and does change everything. We cannot stay one species too this long. The rest of space nature has no criminal foreign influences. We no longer allow it itself, its system. Don't defend blaming the environment, an overall thing. And don't blame the finite things on individuals without bringing out how the individuals of locations, areas, and states, The overt criminal enterprises, private ones. In the branches of government, there are only 3 of them. In the military, they are recorded how easily kept, remote, fake, and pretending other. Tied to this